My life has taught me one profound, terrifying, and deeply comforting truth. The heaviest armor we ever wear is the armor of politeness. For decades, we carry it, polishing it until it shines, making sure it never scrapes against anyone else's comfort. But when you are very old, as I am, you realize that armor does not protect you from the outside world. It protects the outside world from you. I remember a day, I must have been 57 years old, standing in the kitchen of my daughter's new house. I had spent the morning helping her unpack, meticulously folding clothes and arranging spices, all while listening to her husband deliver a loud, lengthy lecture on a subject he knew very little about, a subject, in fact, that had been my professional passion for 20 years. My daughter kept shooting me worried glances, a silent plea in her eyes. "Please, Mother, keep the peace." I felt the familiar, automatic response rise in my throat, a soft laugh, a gentle, vague agreement, a slight shrug that said, "Oh, men and their opinions." But as I reached out for a box of cereal, something shifted. It was not a grand revelation or a sudden burst of anger. It was a simple, mechanical failure. The mechanism in my chest, the one responsible for filtering, softening, and shaping my truth into a palatable social lie, simply seized up. I stopped reaching for the box. I turned, and I did not raise my voice, but I spoke with the terrible, heavy weight of absolute certainty. "What you are saying," I stated plainly, "is factually incorrect. I have documented evidence to the contrary, and I have had enough of listening to you speculate about matters you have not researched." Silence. It was the deepest, most shocking silence I have ever created. My daughter gasped. Her husband's face went white, then crimson, and I, for the first time in perhaps 40 years, felt utterly weightless. I had dropped the armor, and the only sound was the clatter of the heavy metal hitting the polished floor. What was that? Was I suddenly a bad person? Had age made me difficult or bitter or cruel? The world, of course, loves to label older women who speak their minds as such. We are warned about becoming the difficult older woman, the one everyone avoids, the one who does not cooperate. It is a cautionary tale designed to keep us compliant, to keep the armor polished and the mechanism running. But I want to tell you the truth that only time can reveal. You are not becoming difficult. You are becoming authentic. You are undergoing a deeply personal and necessary neurological reorganization that I have come to call the Great Shedding. It is the moment in your life when your capacity to pretend, to perform, and to prioritize the comfort of others above the truth of your own experience finally short circuits, like an old electrical system that has run on overload for far too long. We must begin with the science, because this is not merely a philosophical shift, although it feels like one. This is a biological inevitability, a maintenance schedule that your brilliant, overworked brain finally enforces. For decades, since you were a young child learning the complex, terrifying rules of social interaction, a part of your brain has been working overtime. I speak of the prefrontal cortex, the elegant executive control center that manages your social behavior, impulse control, and the diplomatic phrasing of every single thing you say. Think of your prefrontal cortex as a tireless, unpaid public relations manager. Its job has been to monitor the room, to calculate the risk of every truth, to suppress the authentic, immediate, and sometimes messy response, and to manage the emotional experience of every person in your vicinity. If someone told a dull joke, it calculated the appropriate laugh. If someone presented a terrible idea, it immediately began formulating the delicate, cushioned phrase that would correct the error without causing offense. It has been running complex social algorithms nonstop, every single waking hour for 40 or 50 years. This is not sustainable work. It is emotionally, cognitively, and physically exhausting. My life has been long, and I have watched generations of women run themselves into the ground performing this labor. We do it because we are rewarded for it. We are liked, we are deemed easy, we are given the high praise of being not difficult. But the cost is immense. It is the cost of never truly being known. Neuroscience offers a beautiful, elegant explanation for why this tireless accountant finally hands in its resignation. As we age, the brain undergoes a process they call synaptic pruning. Imagine your mind is an overgrown garden. Over the years, you grew countless paths. Paths for worry, paths for anxiety, paths for how to quickly apologize even when you did nothing wrong. The brain, with its ancient wisdom, starts to trim away the neural pathways that are not essential for your continued health and survival. It is a kind of biological triage. And those pathways dedicated to constant hypervigilant people-pleasing, they are often the first to go. They are deemed too resource-intensive, a luxury the mature mind can no longer afford. Your brain is not forgetting how to be kind. It is forgetting how to be a performer. Research suggests that for women, this shift is often tied to the natural decline in hormones like estrogen and oxytocin. In the first half of life, these chemical messengers drive us towards social harmony, connection, and intense caregiving. They are the neurochemical architects of the armor. But as they shift and decline in the years surrounding menopause and beyond, that intense chemical compulsion to nurture and please others begins to diminish. It is not replaced by bitterness, as the cautionary tales would have you believe. It is replaced by clarity, a startling, unadorned, quiet clarity that feels both dangerous and necessary. Think of the accumulated cost of a lifetime lived behind the curtain. Since the day you were told your voice was too loud, or your dress was too bright, or your opinion was too much, you have been engaged in constant, invisible labor. You have been reading the room like a complicated map, adjusting your tone to be 20% softer than your male colleagues, softening your language with apologies and cushions. "I'm sorry, but I just had a small thought." Making yourself physically smaller so others feel more comfortable taking up space. Laughing at jokes that were not funny, or worse, jokes that were cruel. Agreeing with opinions that you fundamentally did not share, just to keep the conversation flowing smoothly. Explaining your brilliance in careful, modulated tones so no one felt threatened by your knowledge. You have been running complex social calculations every single day for decades. Psychologists speak of decision fatigue, the gradual deteriorating quality of decisions after long sessions of decision-making. But we, the women who have lived this, know a far heavier toll: emotional labor fatigue. After thousands of interactions where you monitored and managed your authentic responses, not for your own safety, but purely to maintain the social and emotional harmony of others, your system finally gives out. This is the truth, and this is my first profound observation. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is finally refusing to malfunction anymore. It is rejecting the unsustainable premise upon which it was operating. For me, the realization was slow, like the tide receding from a beach, revealing what had always been submerged. I noticed it first in small ways, a sudden inability to pretend I enjoyed a particular kind of awful fruitcake at the holidays. Then the scale grew larger. I could no longer feign interest in the office politics that did not concern me. Finally, it arrived in that kitchen with my son-in-law, where the truth came out like a stone dropped from a great height. While all people experience changes with aging, I have observed that women report this shift with a unique intensity and for a simple, heartbreaking reason. From the moment we step into the world, we are socialized for social harmony in ways that boys are simply not. We are the designated caregivers of emotional climate. Research shows girls as young as 4 already demonstrate a heightened awareness of others' emotions and adjust their behavior accordingly. By the time you reach your 50s, you have accumulated 40 or more years of this deep, constant behavioral conditioning. The conditioning comes in a language of elegant prohibition. Don't be bossy. Translation, do not lead, do not take charge. Don't be pushy. Translation, do not assert your boundaries, do not have needs. Don't be difficult. Translation, do not inconvenience others with your true self. Don't be emotional. Translation, do not be human, be quiet. You have been performing an elaborate social choreography for so long that it became entirely automatic. It was like breathing. You stopped noticing the steps, the energy, the intense focus it required. And then, one morning, you find that you simply won't dance anymore. Or, more accurately, the strength to hold the posture is gone. Here is the neurological explanation, the map of what is happening inside your skull. It is a beautiful, synchronized convergence of systems. First, the hormonal recalibration. As estrogen, the great moderator of social bonding and emotional responses, recedes, so does its chemical mandate over your decisions. You are not becoming hormonal in that cruel, dismissive way people use the word. You are becoming less chemically compelled to prioritize the comfort of others over the urgency of your own truth. You are chemically released from the servitude of being perpetually pleasant. Second, the prefrontal cortex's refusal. The same executive region that helped you suppress and filter for decades begins to operate differently. Some research shows it becomes less reactive to social judgment and approval. The part of your brain that cared intensely about what the next-door neighbor or the random acquaintance thought about you is literally becoming less neurologically invested. You are starting to care only about what is real and what is necessary. Third, the accumulated stress response. Decades of chronic low-level stress, the constant social monitoring, the fear of upsetting the balance, the effort of maintaining a perfect facade, takes a heavy biological toll. Your stress system, the HPA axis, can become dysregulated. What looks from the outside like not having a filter or rudeness is often the result of a stress system that is finally saying, with a biological roar, "Enough! I will no longer waste precious survival energy on this sustained pretense." And fourth, the cognitive prioritization shift. As we age, energy becomes the most precious currency. Time becomes brutally finite. The brain shifts its cost-benefit analysis dramatically. The equation changes from, will saying the truth disrupt the peace, to, is maintaining this elaborate lie worth the expenditure of my last few decades of vital energy? The answer, overwhelmingly, becomes no. And this is where the first great cliffhanger of the soul occurs, and the system retaliates. The social backlash is not only real, it is absolutely guaranteed. It is proof that your performance was not optional. It was required labor. When you stop providing that emotional labor, that cushioning, that managing, that softening, the systems and relationships that relied on it begin to break down. And instead of examining why the system needed your performance to function, people will, without fail, blame you for withdrawing it. You will suddenly be labeled not a team player, going through something, difficult to work with, changed," said with a tone of deep concern that is truly a mask for disapproval. The same direct, no-nonsense manner that would be called decisive or strong in a man will be called abrasive or petty in you. This contradiction is information, a profound piece of evidence. It confirms that the system you were operating in was always exploiting your need to please. The discomfort you cause by simply being true, that is not your problem to fix. It is information about the deep structural flaws in the relationship or system that was taking your emotional labor for granted. When I finally stopped managing the complex emotional life of my husband's entire extended family, a role I had played for 30 years, the system sputtered and stalled. They were angry, confused, and they blamed my age. They said I had become selfish. But I knew the truth. I had merely become present in my own life, and the emptiness I left behind was the sheer volume of work I had been doing for them for free. This liberation, I must warn you, feels terrifyingly dangerous. We have been rewarded our entire lives for being accommodating, pleasant, and easy. The positive feedback loop of being liked, of receiving external validation is powerful, and now you are consciously or unconsciously breaking that loop. The fear that rises is ancient programming. You might find yourself paralyzed by the fear that you are becoming that woman, the bitter, isolated one. You will lose valuable relationships. You are being selfish, narcissistic, or overreacting. I tell you now, look into your own heart. The woman you are afraid of becoming is a myth. She is a cautionary tale designed by a society that needs compliant, quiet labor from women. She is the prison guard hired to keep you in your cell of perpetual politeness. Your fears are valid because the programming is deep, but they are not true. They are the ghost of your past self trying to maintain control. Now, let us turn to the astonishing gains, the harvest that comes from the shedding of the armor. First, you gain authenticity. The true self, the self that has been submerged under layers of careful performance and social obligation, finally surfaces. It might feel harsh at first because authentic people have edges. They have opinions, they hold boundaries, they take up space. These are not character flaws, they are the signs of a fully realized person. Second, you gain time and energy. Think of all the cognitive resources you spent managing everyone else's emotional experience. The careful wording, the silent calculations, the recovery from the inevitable social bruise. That immense reservoir of energy is now instantly available for your own life, your own projects, your own profound development. The return on investment is staggering. It is as if a debilitating tax has finally been lifted. Third, you gain clarity. When you stop cushioning every truth, reality becomes startlingly clear. Problems that were obscured by diplomatic language and careful phrasing become visible and therefore solvable. You stop pretending that a shoddy project is acceptable or that a dysfunctional family dynamic is healthy. You see the world as it is, not as you have been performing it to be. And fourth, you gain real relationships. This is the hard, necessary truth. Some relationships will end when you stop people-pleasing. These were not relationships. They were transactions sustained entirely by your performance. The coworker who only spoke to you to dump her emotional baggage. The friend who only wanted your company if you agreed with all of her life choices. The family member who only called when he needed a mediator. When you stop playing the role, mediator, peacemaker, emotional manager, chief morale officer, one of two things happens, and both are liberation. The relationship either evolves into something more authentic and substantial based on mutual respect for the truth, or it dissolves, because it was never based on real connection in the first place. Losing a relationship because you stopped performing is not actually a loss. It is the gain of clarity about what was never really there. It is a purification. I grieved the loss of some of those relationships, yes. But I grieved the idea of them, not their reality. I realized I was mourning the loss of the audience for my performance, not the loss of a true companion. And this is the final, ultimate moment of realization, the climax of the long life I have lived. If you are currently in the thick of this transition, feeling the pull of the old programming and the terror of the new freedom, here is my guidance. It is not swift, but it is solid. First, name what is happening with compassion and respect. Do not use the labels others hand you. I am not becoming difficult. I am becoming authentic. My brain is intelligently reorganizing around truth instead of performance. The language you use to describe this change will shape your entire experience of it. Second, expect resistance. When you stop over-functioning in relationships and systems, the people around you will push back hard. They liked the old, pliable you. The resistance you face is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. It is irrefutable evidence that you were doing far too much before. Third, practice the pause. You do not have to swing from decades of people-pleasing to brutal, unfiltered honesty overnight. That is just another form of performance. Instead, notice the moment, the tiny fraction of a second when you are about to soften, cushion, or apologize unnecessarily. Stop, pause, and consciously choose the minimal necessary truth. Choose the direct phrase. Let the silence hang. Let the other person be responsible for their own reaction. Fourth, find your people. Seek out the other women who have shed the armor. They exist. They are the ones with the quiet confidence and the eyes that see everything. These relationships will feel fundamentally different, less performative, less needy, more substantial, and deeply nourishing. They will appreciate your truth, not your performance. And finally, allow yourself to grieve. There is loss here, even as the change is profoundly positive. You are losing the identity of the nice one, the person everyone loved to have around. You are losing the external validation that fueled you for so long. This grief is legitimate. Honor it, let it pass, and then step forward into your new, lighter skin. The unexpected, true gift of this neurological shedding is that it is a profound practice for being fully alive and eventually for facing the end of life itself. Every small death of the ego, every shedding of another person's opinion of you, every moment you choose the difficult truth over the easy approval, you are rehearsing the ultimate letting go. You are learning stone by stone that you can exist entirely as yourself, regardless of external validation. This is spiritual work disguised as social rudeness. The woman who can look a person in the eye and say, "That is simply not accurate," without cushioning, without apology, is the same woman who is preparing to face her own mortality without flinching. She has practiced not needing everyone's approval to breathe. She has learned through the long, hard effort of a life that her inherent worth is not contingent on her being pleasant, pliable, or convenient. You are not becoming difficult. You are not becoming bitter. You are becoming free. The self that is finally emerging is not a worse version of you. It is the authentic version that was always there, buried under 40 years of conditioning, calculation, and emotional labor to maintain a manufactured harmony. Your wise old brain is doing triage. It is deciding what actually matters for your remaining life, and it is cutting away the pretense that never served your soul. The filter you are losing was never truly protecting you. It was protecting everyone else from the sheer necessary force of your truth. And your truth, my friends, it is not the problem. The system that required you to hide it was always the problem. So, when they say you have changed, when they imply something is wrong with you now, when they say you are not the person you used to be, smile gently with the quiet confidence of a woman who has lived long. They are right. You have changed. You have changed into someone who is no longer available for performance. And that, I assure you, is not a failure. That is not difficult. That, my friends, is profound, glorious development. Thank you for allowing me to share this quiet truth with you today. If this shedding resonates with your own long journey, please share your experiences below. Tell me, what was the moment, the sentence, or the observation that made you realize the armor was finally ready to drop? I will read every one. Until then, walk lightly. Your own truth is the only luggage you need.